Gregg Wallace with an appropriately mistimed and ill-thought-out video on the weekend, now totally changing and showing some degree of contrition. Two things I'll spell out for you in a moment just how important he is. As we all know, the BBC show that he was in last night went to air. I must admit, I didn't watch it. It's never really worked for me, although I'm sure it's absolutely brilliant television. And I will tell you just how important he is to their schedules over the coming days, should they actually be now suspending some of those programmes. And secondly, was it right for number 10 to get involved? You'll answer those questions in a moment. Let's start by taking you back to Sunday. I mentioned that appalling, spectacularly advised video on social media where Wallace attempted to defend himself by claiming that out of the thousands of contestants he's worked with down all the years, nearly 20 years on MasterChef and other shows, only a few had complained. And the complaints all came from, well, one particular demographic.
Now, in the newspaper, I can see the complaints coming from a handful of middle-class women of a certain age just from Celebrity MasterChef. This isn't right.
Now, around yesterday lunchtime, the Prime Minister got involved through his official spokesperson, who described Gregg Wallace's comments as misogynistic and appropriate. Soon afterwards, Wallace took to social media once again, this time with a slightly different tone.
I just found his presence very tiring, really boring, actually, just coming out with all this nonsense the whole time. It was as if he couldn't hold a conversation, so he had to fill the space with all this nonsense.
And when you say nonsense, was it, I don't want to be crude here, was it sexual innuendo? Was it inappropriate jokes? Was it talk about his love life? What was it, Aggie?
Not talk of the love life, but, just kind of those sort of silly kind of Sid James type of jokes. Yeah, really old school, kind of, we're talking dinosaur.
Now, the more eagle-eared among you, if there is such a thing, might have worked out that wasn't actually Gregg Wallace. That was Aggie McKenzie. Totally my fault. I misread what's called a Q here. Maybe it's time for new glasses. Aggie McKenzie there telling me yesterday what life was like to work with Gregg Wallace. Now Aggie McKenzie does a very good impersonation of Gregg Wallace. This is the video he put out after the Prime Minister got involved. His spokesperson describing Wallace as misogynistic and inappropriate. Here is Gregg Wallace.
I want to apologise for any offence that I caused with my post yesterday and any upset I may have caused to a lot of people. I wasn't in a good headspace when I posted it. I've been under a huge amount of stress, a lot of emotion. I felt very alone, under siege yesterday when I posted it. It's obvious to me I need to take some time out now while this investigation is underway. I hope you understand, and I do hope that you will accept this apology.
And there does seem to be a growing political furore as to whether the current series of MasterChef should be pulled from the schedules. An episode, as I say, aired last night, another due tonight. Well, here's Harriet, now Baroness Harman, Labour peer, former deputy leader of the party, speaking with my LBC colleague Andrew Marr last night.
I think after his comments, which were so rude to a whole generation of women, I don't think the BBC should be airing these programmes. And he hasn't actually apologised. He's done this kind of phony apology where he says, I'm sorry if anybody's offended. I, for one, am not going to be watching it. And I think that it shows a bit of a disrespect by the BBC if they think this sort of semi-apology means that it's all right for him to go on air.
Mark Bukowski is a PR and brand expert and founder of the PR agency Bukowski. Two questions here. Take them in whichever order you choose, Mark. Should the BBC now suspend these shows, put them in the cupboard for a few months, and should Number 10 be getting involved? Mark, good morning.
Morning, Nick. Well, the question is that I know the BBC is slow-moving, but they have placed this under scrutiny. There is some sort of process going through, and the BBC will say, look, we're not going to let this be judged by the media. Legal and HR get involved with these things. They don't move as fast as the media agenda. And I guess their priority is protecting the programme. Going back to whether the government, should get involved. Well, it's a populist theme at the moment, running on most front pages of tabloids. But to me, it's a sort of slight overreach. I mean, there are some very, very heady things going on in the world at the moment. You hear about, possible cyber attacks from Russia and, the usual agenda. What are they doing? Diving into this. If they're going to start here, where does it stop? Are they going to have to comment about every celebrity outrage? Around misogyny. Look, he's an oaf. He's old school. He's from the Benny Hill side of comedy, and it's out of time. But, they've got to make a decision fast. Unfortunately, they don't. And this is where these stories drag on and on and on.
Is his TV career over, Mark?
I've seen stranger things happen. There's always a redemptive arc for certain people, but I think he...
Jennifer, thanks for waiting. Nick will come to you next, okay?
Great, thanks.
Thank you.
And there are no place for old men in this bright, new, shiny world of wokeism.
And so MasterChef needs a total reboot?
I don't think it needs a total reboot. I mean, what we've discovered with these celebrity, sort of issues, these crises, is the programme survived. Let's remember the nonsense you and I remember around Angus Dayton back in the day. Have I got the news for you?
Yeah.
It's still going strong.
It is. Some say perhaps it's starting to show signs of age. Mark Bukowski, thank you. You are, of course, founder of the PR agency Bukowski, 12 minutes after 7. Listening Jennifer Howze, who's editorial director of NOON.org.uk, an online media platform aimed primarily at middle-aged women. She's also co-founder of Brit Mums blog. That's all one word, Brit Mums, plural, blog, a network for parent influencers. Jennifer Howze joins me now. This will test whether you've got a sense of humour. Are you a woman of a certain age and a certain class, Jennifer? Good morning.
Hi, good morning, Nick. Yes, I am proudly a woman of a certain age, as are, the tens of thousands of women who are on Noon. And frankly, I can also take a joke, but like most middle-aged women, I would say, we're not humorless, but we are finally in a position to call out, bad behavior for the benefit of ourselves, for other, younger, more vulnerable women and other people.
Well, you're right. This is anything but a laughing matter. Is it a matter for number 10, Jennifer?
Well, yes.
Tell me why.
Well, he is an MBE. I think, that means something. He's been repeatedly called, a national treasure or on his way to becoming a national treasure, which I think is a funny path to try and describe. And frankly, this idea of, first of all, the comments that he's been accused of, the actions he's been accused of, those are really serious. The BBC is involved and supposedly there have been complaints reaching back years. And therefore, that is a matter for the government. And I respectfully take issue with Mark's comments about a slippery slope. No one seems to worry about this slippery slope of if we let some, high-profile money-making presenter get away with saying, sexist comments or telling off-color jokes, then, what happens next? The slippery slope always seems to run in a different direction.
Well, let me ask you what happens next as regards to the BBC. Do they shelve these programmes for a while, these particular episodes?
I don't know. Personally, I don't have that strong of an opinion about it because I too don't watch MasterChef.
No, ever.
And I think, his persona was never something that particularly appealed to me, though I know many, many people like it, his on-screen presence and like those programs. I mean, I would say I don't see a reason really to shelve them. People are reading the media. They can make their own decision. I think recording new ones is problematic until this has been thoroughly investigated.
I don't see that happening anytime soon. Jennifer Howze, thank you. You're editorial director of NOON.org.uk. You're co-founder of Brit Mums.